I'm going to try to keep this as spoiler free as I can for both the mainstream fans and the hardcore ones, but if you've watched any of the live action movies, then you pretty much know what you're in for. The plot basically follows in the same footsteps of all those that came before it. There's a couple main human characters, a guy and a girl. The guy has a family dynamic with drama to go with it. Coincidences occur that puts him in the front seat of an Autobot, then he becomes part of their team. Then the other human gets brought in by coincidence, and together they track down a MacGuffin. Then big robot fights occur. Unicron is a big part of this one, and he is basically boiled down to being the Fallen mixed with Galactus for all my live action only viewers. Besides him though, it's about the same thing every movie, bada bing bada boom. But I believe they both learned from the past ones as well as didn't even learn enough, but I'll save that for the spoiler review. When it comes to the humans, although only one actually felt necessary throughout the entirety of the film, they were all likable, and they did their jobs well. They did a decent job making Elena fit in with the plot, so they could take her along, but there were also many scenes where she was just there, which is going to happen when you plop a little tiny human in a conflict between big old robots. I liked her, I just wish she had more urgency within the plot, since she had the screen time anyway. I think Noah was a pretty good dad blame protagonist, and that he made a lot of sense and had a really good dynamic with Mirage. I also really liked his bond with his little brother and how that reflected as his bond with Mirage formed throughout the film. With that though, Pete Davidson as Mirage was the star of the show for me when it comes to the new live action iterations. He did a phenomenal job when it comes to voice acting, in regards to sounding like he was actually talking to those around him, as well as his comedic timing. The rest of the voice actors did well as well. Liza as RC was a welcome surprise. Although she never said that much, her performance did her character justice as well. RC's design and fighting style were a mix of G1 and Prime, which I was a huge fan about. I doubt I need to say anything about these two voice acting wise, but Peter Cullen and Ron Perlman reprised their roles and were legendary yet again. That being said, when it comes to Optimus as a character, I wasn't the biggest fan of his characterization here. It was a weird mix of Bayformer, psychotic, I wanna kill you, and then what we got from the Bumblebee movie, it just felt kind of off in how he approached certain situations, especially in regards to Optimus as a character and what he stands for. Bumblebee was back and yet again unable to speak. He had some good comedic moments as well as a couple cute ones again, which I really liked, just like he did in the Bumblebee movie. Wheeljack is not in this movie. I am in denial. This dude right here, this is Pablo, man. He ain't Wheeljack. Just as Q wasn't in the Bayformer films, Pablo isn't here. I don't know who keeps thinking this is a good idea, but seriously, bro, stop screwing over Wheeljack, especially if you're going to retcon the previous film just to do it. Yeah, that's right. I remember that scene on Cybertron from Bumblebee, where he was designed almost perfectly. Pablo's design is good, don't get me wrong, and his voice actress Cristo Fernandez gave him a soft-spoken yet snappy voice that fit the character pretty well. It reminded me of the 2012 Donatello, and how his sarcastic humor worked. But that worked well for Pablo. It wouldn't work well for Wheeljack, not in regards to this. They went the Bayformers route and made Wheeljack far more humanoid than the other Autobots, and then they also caught him Pablo, made him Spanish, changed his design completely, and made him a nerdy stereotype of what a nerd would actually be. This is so stupid. They literally learned absolutely nothing from the Einstein nerdy stereotype genius from Bayformers. Like, what are you doing? Anyway, moving on. Peter Dinklage really left a mark as Scourge. He gave his voice enough expression to break him free of a certain characterization that I guess we'll go over later, or I might do so in the spoiler, while keeping him extremely menacing for the most part. Michelle Yeoh as Airazor was perfect casting, but we'll get more into her and the rest of the Maximals in the spoiler video as well. just know that if you're there for them, you may end up a little disappointed and even underwhelmed. It may be called Rise of the Beasts, but besides rising, they don't do much else. The action was hype, especially with the soundtrack picked for the film that perfectly mixed together to get your adrenaline rushing. The CG was high quality, with some slight dips that when mixed with logic made a scene or two feel like the latest Fast and Furious films. For example, Optimus can drift at top speed as if it's nothing. They should have had him grab the guardrail and swing himself instead. That's the kind of ways that transforming was utilized in the last film, the Bumblebee one, which isn't utilized here. There's no driving into a punch, transforming to a car when thrown to regain footing. It's a noticeable difference, but it isn't necessarily a bad thing depending on your taste. The Terracons don't even transform whatsoever, I don't think. I can't remember a single moment when they did, which again felt like a missed opportunity to have those moments that really caught your eye in Bumblebee. The moments where they transformed at the perfect time to do the perfect thing that made the combat feel more fluid. The choreography of the scenes themselves, though, was good, with characters having obvious differences in fighting styles, helping to tell them apart even within the chaos of battle. When it comes to the Terracons and the bad guys in general, they did blend in together more than they did or more than they would have if they were as colorful as they were in the flashback or in Bumblebee. A lot of the bad guys were just formed from metal and that's all they looked like. They were a bunch of gray just clashing together, which is something else that Bayformers had a problem with, where you couldn't really tell anybody apart at certain times. It worked well here due to what it was in this scene, but I'm hoping that in the future they don't continue to go that route, especially whenever they start bringing in more named characters that actually matter. I just don't want to see a bunch of CGI just shoving, mashing, meshing together again that's all gray. And I definitely don't want to see the cons become less human and more monstrous like Michael Bay did. I don't want that to happen. I'm not predicting the future. I'm just saying that the way things are going, it's starting to feel like it's leaning more into how things were instead of trying to make its own. Unicron as an overwhelming force in this is going to be hit or miss with a lot of people too, especially given how he's characterized throughout the entire film. I'm not going to get into it here because my thoughts on it are entirely mine and mine alone. So again, I'll just save that, I guess, but just keep in mind that you may be disappointed with that as well if you go in with any preconceived notions of what you think of when you think of Unicron. Overall, there were some issues with characters' characterization, with pacing, with stakes, and the threat level of enemies in general by the end, but I really enjoy this film. It's by far the best movie experience I've had of the whole year, but I do have my issues, and if you want to hear them, then you'll have to join me in the spoiler video. If I had to line this up with Transformers films, the live action ones anyway, it would definitely be better than The Last Night, it'd be better than Age of Extinction, it'd be better than Revenge of the Fallen, and it would be up there with 2007 and Dark of the Moon. Whether or not I would put it above or behind, that's a topic for another time, but just know that in my opinion it is in my top 3. I don't know if Bumblebee would go ahead of it or not. They're interchangeable for me at this point in time until I think about it more. Especially given that I think this is supposed to be the beginning of a trilogy. So yeah, it's setting stuff up, and until I see what it's setting up, even though I have my thoughts on what it could be, I'm going to hold off on whether or not I believe this film would be above Bumblebee, because by itself, it feels unfair to put them side by side, especially given how different of a film they actually are. If you go and watch the movie though, there is an end credit scene that you may want to stay for. It is something that actually got me pretty hyped, but what it shows within the Transformers universe and what it could mean in general when it comes to films in the future, we'll talk about it. Just hold on, wait. I'll see you in the next video. For more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned, especially this time, to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day if you don't.